Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. After our adventure in the darkness over Arkham last week, our Choose Your Own Adventure book, we're going back to the Cthulhu mythos again, as this is Mythos Month after all, but we're going to a very different world of the Cthulhu mythos. Today we're playing the Legacy of Cthulhu by Mind's Vision. In this world, the Ancient Ones have won the war. So now we're trying to basically make our own life here in a post-apocalyptic world from the Cthulhu mythos. So Cthulhu is the one who's won. So this is actually kind of a journaling exploration map essentially. So we're starting this one on day 1 at 6 a.m. You'll probably hear me clacking away. I've got my iPad and shot to do all of my journaling. So we'll walk through our first tile nice and slow, and we'll go through how everything works. So the way I'm denoting everything is we're starting off in a ruined space. We've got a shelter that we're starting with. We're actually starting with our old character. We've got Kira Nightcaller as she ended up coming out from her last adventure in this world. We're starting off with her family having been eliminated during the war against Cthulhu. Not sure exactly how that happened, but her family definitely bit the dust. So that's where we're starting from there. We're starting from her residence, which I'm going to mark here in pink. I'll move the black block around just to see what I'll move the black block around. Then we need 2 D10s for this. I'll explain. So we've got an orange D10 and a yellow one. I'll use the orange to determine tables on multiple, and the yellow one for what the actual action is, and I'll point that out when we actually get to it. So I think we are all set. So let's jump into this one. So the first question I want to put to the Oracle is, did we have a car coming out of this? So the way we roll for the Oracle question is, we'll roll a d10. 1 to 5 is no. 6 to 10 in this case is yes. So we're putting to the Oracle, do we have a car? That's a 7. Yes, we do have a car. We'll assume it's at full fuel. So as we step outside on that first day, it's unnaturally quiet as we're looking around at Arkham outside of the residence. To our relief, as we look over into the driveway, we see that the family car is fully intact. We had just gassed, actually, for the point of this, we'll assume it's at full fuel. Kira had just remembered to gas the car the previous day before everything went sideways, and Cthulhu had destroyed the world. So, and we'll assume everything's fully stocked as well for purposes of making our lives a little bit easier, which definitely makes our lives a lot easier having the car, so travel will take a little bit less time. And I think we'll start this one off. I'll bring the different terrain types in shot. So that's what I've got right here, the different types of terrain that we're looking at. We will start by moving over into this wreckage. So travel to wreckage takes to 6:30 a.m. Because travel by car travel by vehicle takes half an hour, whereas by vehicle it takes an hour. Oh, we actually had a motorcycle too. Look at that. So what do we want to do here So what do we want to do on here? We can pick an action to go for. I think here we're going to look for food to try to replenish. Well, actually our supplies are in pretty good shape, so I'm not too worried about that. What I would like to try to find, though, is a weapon of some kind. So let's see if we can find a weapon. We'll try to succeed on a mind check. So we're in wreckage. So actually, we're going to make some... So, looking for a weapon. So we need to get at least a 10, and we can add our mind, which our mind skill is 4. Okay, just double checking. It's been a while since I've played this, so I'm a little bit rusty. Okay. Let's see, 5 plus body was 7 health. Okay. So yeah, on our skill checks, and this book is not well laid out for that. So I'm just double checking here, but I'm pretty sure the check here, the skill check should be 5 plus mind. Actually, let's just go to the table of contents for that. Action examples. Check system is probably a good place to start. Stat plus skill plus a d10. So we've got 4 mind. And I don't think there's any skill here. Maybe investigation, perhaps? Let's see. Would investigation apply here? I will say no. We'll just roll regular mind. So 4 plus 8 is 12, which means we do succeed. Which means now we have to roll for the weapon we actually acquire, which is weapon and armor found. So I'm going to roll 2. I'm going to roll 2d6s, actually 2d10s. I'm going to roll the yellow die for the primary result and orange for if we need it. Because there are some rolls in here that'll call for that. Let's see if this is one of them. All right, a 7 is heavy clothes or a light vest. So the 2 on the orange die will indicate that we found a light vest, and that'll take 3 hours to find. So that'll bring us to 9:30, which is where I've got this classic will return clock that you'll see on any store. I'm using that to keep track of my time. So we're looking at, so we just got a light vest. Which a light vest, of course there's not a description of items in here, so we'll say, or is there a description of items in here? Of course there's not an index. So as far as let's see, armor, here we go. So light vest reduces 1 damage. And then we'll roll for an event on wreckage. Does this DM screen have the types of events here? It doesn't. I guess I can't say I'm completely surprised by that. So we've got wreckage, which here's one where we're going to need both dice. So we'll need the orange for the group of events, and then yellow for the actual result. So let's see what our event is here. Okay, that's a 0 and a 9. We find a water source in a destroyed town square that now serves... Okay, so we've got a water source being used as a Water source in a destroyed town square. Serving as a dark priest's soul receptacle. Let's see if I can find how dangerous a dark priest is likely to be. That might help me decide how I want to interact with this. Let's see, 12 hit points. And dark priests are also protected by 5 plus D10 psychos. So how many psychos are there? Total of 9 psychos. Which psychos are probably the mindless minions, most likely. 8 HP. I think we're probably going to vote for let's avoid them for now. I'd rather not draw attention to them. So it's 9:30 now, and we've managed to get away from a band of psychos. We're still in our car, and the car, actually, how long does fuel let us travel for? Allows the vehicle to move for 10 tiles. Okay. So now we're going to move to... We're going to move over to another wreckage space. Travel to wreckage. That'll take us to 10 a.m. As we adjust the clock, there's 10 a.m. So what do I want to do here? We've got a light vest here. We do have an axe for a weapon. Let's. So far, we don't know anybody. Those are action examples. So what else might we want to do here? That is a good question. I think here we're actually going to see if we can maybe strengthen the house a little bit. If we can. So I think we'll look for... build or upgrade items. So we do need to find a... That's probably something we'll want to be back at the shelter for. So maybe we're looking for building resources potentially. How much fuel do we have? I don't think we ever rolled for that. So we're assuming we're using... Oh, we have 7 units of fuel. So we're using 1 of them right now. We've got 6 fuel. Inside a workshop. We probably... So what resources do we need to build a workshop? Should probably look into that. Or is there anything that's going to tell us? Probably not. There's something in here that maybe explains shelter rules. World settings, shelters. Okay, here we are. So as a residence, we've got 5 space, but we need... doesn't actually say we need resources. It looks like we just need space. We do have the tech for that. So we'll go 5 and 5. So what do we want to do here? Probably should worry about strengthening the shelter at some point. So we'll move back and Is there no time for how to build these? Doesn't look like it. So actually, now that I look at it, on the ruins, we probably would have been at a... Well, we're going to take wreckage. We're going to say residence in wreckage. Okay. So... Okay. So actually, we've got a residence in ruins is what we're going to go with. And we'll call that 1, 2, 3, 1. So we'll call that 3, 1 on Arkham. If we're using an ordered pair. Three columns over, then 1 row up. Okay, so now we're in another space of wreckage. And I'm still deciding what I want to do here. Yeah, I decided I didn't want to remain. So here, I think... So far, we don't know anybody. Let's see if we can find a new investigator, or find a new survivor. That looks like it'll be another mind check from what I was seeing. Yep, find another survivor. So we'll have to make a mind check. Which once again, our mind is a 4. That's a 7, so we do succeed. We'll roll up a new we'll roll a new survivor, and by the time this goes live again, I'll have that survivor ready to go. Actually, there's one other thing I want to grab, so I will be right back. I didn't even think of needing this earlier, but I kind of do actually need it, so let me go find it. Be right back. I thought I laminated it, but apparently I didn't. What I was looking for was a Mythos keywords table that I had ChatGPT roll up for me. So if you remember my Dungeons and Dragons streams, I've done a couple of them. They actually had a big keywords table that I was able to use when I needed to get ideas. But somehow I had never had a keywords table for my Mythos RPGs. So I had ChatGPT put something together for me, and that's what I've got here. I thought I'd laminated it, but I hadn't. I probably will laminate it yet this weekend, though. So we do need to roll up a new investigator, and finding that investigator, given the destruction caused, it was recommended that... Okay, so we do find another survivor that we'll have to roll up. How long does it take to find a new survivor? That's not what I want. Of course, that doesn't explain it. So it's based on the tile, and it doesn't. I don't think it explains that very well. So, find another survivor. Here we go. So that'll take me another hour in wreckage. So that'll bring us to 11 a.m. looking for a new survivor. Let's see what event we get on. Let's see what wreckage event we get this time. Let's see, that's a 9. Uh-oh. Another water source? Wow. Okay. Well, that's easy. I just copy the event down. And this one's protected by 12 psychos. Yeah, we're going to avoid this one even more. So travel to wreckage. That one was 4. Actually, that was 4-1 that we went to, the first one. This one is 5-1. We're definitely finding the psychos here. That's for sure. So now we're looking at 11 a.m. So where are we going now? So we've already moved two spaces. And I think we'll go explore along the coast. We're probably going to need a boat of some kind to get across that, and maybe we'll find a boat down here. So we're going travel to coast. This one is 5-2. That'll go take us to 11:30 a.m. Let's see, is there an option to find a boat here? Let's see, vehicle. Not as written, so how would I house rule for a boat? Actually, I think the way I'd have to... No, there's definitely a barrier here to get across to the boat, to get across the water. So what would I house rule for a boat? Let's look at the traditional terrain types, or the traditional vehicles. Let's call that... Actually, we'll say we've got a small car. Well, let's roll to see if we find... Let's roll to see if we find a vehicle here. So this is going to be another mind check. I'm going to house rule a boat is what I'm going for. That's a 2 plus 4 is 6, so we actually fail to find anything along the coast. So we'll roll for a coast event now. Once I find... here we are. Let's see, that's a 4, which is this first group, and a 2. Find a good resource gathering spot. Roll what I find on table 25. Okay, that's cool. So that's on table, what did we say, 25. Okay, let's see what we find. And once again, this is one where we'll need both D10s. We'll use the yellow for the primary result, orange for the quantity of the result. Let's see, 6 is food or medicine. Actually, we're going to need 3 of these, so First is food or medicine. 4 is food. So let's see how much food we find. We find 4 more units of food. So that'll bring me up to... Oh, here we go. 14 units of food. Presumably we're going to have to stop and eat at some point in this game. Every food unit can feed a survivor for 1 day or remove a hunger marker. Okay. I don't hate that. And then that takes... Then finding that much food takes 3 hours. So that brings us to 12:1. That brings us to 2:30 p.m. Okay, so do we want to? So we're at 2:30 p.m. So what do we want to do here? Let's see. Do we want to keep moving along, or do we want to go back toward the shelter and try to do a little bit of work there? I think we're going to head back. I think we're going to head back to the shelter. So we'll travel. So we'll travel back to 4-1. So travel to 4-1. That'll take us to 3 p.m. And what do we want to do here? Let's see, building or upgrading? Let's try to find another survivor here. So this is another mind check, which is a 1, so we fail. Now, if we're passing back through again, as soon as we enter a new tile, we don't do anything there. So, shelter. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'm a little bit annoyed. Okay, so we're going to move. So 4-1 was where we found our first water source in a destroyed town, serving as the soul receptacle. And I think we're going to... It doesn't make sense to me to roll for another event. Now, that since it's a tile we've already been to. So I think we're just going to bank it as the same event that we had. So we're going to move back. So for 3 o'clock, which is what we're at now. So 3 o'clock, we're just going to move back to our shelter. We're going to do upgrades just happen? Yeah, it looks like upgrades. So builder upgrade items. Let's see, but yeah. Time to roll for a random event. Okay. So what I'm trying to do, I don't think there's a way to, I don't think there's anything that explains how long the upgrades take. And I'm looking on some of these tables. No, there isn't, which is a little annoying. But probably nothing I can do about that. So yeah, we're at the shelter, and once a day before 6 a.m. of the following day, we do have to roll for a horde attack. So, since we are back in the shelter, let's go ahead and do some upgrading. But it's not... You can build and improve many items in a... So it probably explains in the shelters. Does it explain in items? I'm trying to see if it explains in the items what... Let's see. Game modes, late game building or upgrading items. Let's see, 91. Okay, each passing day grants the character 1 experience. Building or upgrading items. Building weapons and armor. So it looks like whenever you say upgrading a shelter, you have to make 10 parts in 10 hours. Okay, so we actually have to go looking for parts. Which, yeah. Okay, never mind that. So we're actually going back out again now that I know we need to look for parts. So we're going to move over to... So we're at 3 p.m. Back to... Actually... So 3 p.m. takes us back to the shelter. Which takes us to 3:30 p.m. We'll look for resources. Since that's what we need to be looking for, right? Yes. So first our mind check to see if we find anything. 5 plus 4 is 9. We just barely fail. And our event, since we're at the ruins, we need a ruins event for that. Let's see, 0 and 8. Enemy pops and spots and confronts. Uh-oh. Roll for a violent encounter on table 20 or succeed or escape with a successful body athletics check. Well, my body stat is pretty terrible at a 2. So I don't think we're escaping that. I'm going to have to roll for a violent encounter. Well, for giggles, let's try to roll the escape check anyway. Like I said, my body is a 2, though, so I'm not... my body stat is a 2, and I don't have athletics. So... Let's see. I'm trying to see if... check system. Oh, add a +2. So we just have the body die. We just have the body stat. That's a 9, so we do escape. Which is moderately surprising. So now that we're at 3:30 p.m., actually, we'll go ahead and make our horde attack now. Our horde attack roll now. So as long as we're back, we'll see if we have to deal with any kind of horde attack. So that's on a D10. So let's see what happens here. On a 1 or 2, that's a 3, so we just barely... So no horde attack. Which means at 3:30 p.m. we're going back out again. Now that I know we need to go looking for resources, for parts. So that's over to 3:30 p.m. So I want to be back in the shelter by about 10 p.m. So let's move over to ruins at 1:1. And that'll take me to 4 p.m. And we're going to try again. We're going to try looking for resources because I really want to get some parts. So that's a mind check of a 4 plus 2 is 6, so we fail. Event check on ruins. That's cocked. Okay, that's a 1 and a 3. Something big happens. Uh-oh. Important event. Let's see what happens on... And of course the important events aren't on the screen. So that is... Okay, so that's table 29. Let's see if I can find where table 29 is lurking. 33, 29, here we are. Alright, so we're rolling for... Alright, so we're rolling for... We're going to roll threat for... Actually, we're going to roll these two at a time. So threat wants to... 2 is 10 plus investigator ghouls, so 11 ghouls want to steal or capture. Then we'll roll for the A and... basically the target, which will do what? 4 is... They want to capture an innocent and important character to attract the great old one. Oh dear. So, an important character. First, we should probably figure out who they're after. Which will attract the great old one. Yikes. Okay, so let's see who the important character is. Right. Okay, so Kira arrives at ruins, intending to look for resources, and sees 11 ghouls that are looking to steal it, that are looking to capture an important character for trying to attract a great old one. Yikes. Okay, that's problematic, to put it mildly. Okay. So first we need to figure out who the important character is. Is there one in Arkham? We got plenty of important characters in Arkham from the looks of it. So the question is, who's out in Arkham? We've got an important character, one that's likely to attract a great old one. Okay, the Miskatonic 6. So, first question, let's ask the Oracle. We need to figure out who this character is. A few individuals. So, looks like there's a main faction in here called the Miskatonic 6. So let's ask the question first of, is this character part of the Miskatonic 6? And the Oracle says... okay, 1 to 5 is a no negative. That's a 0, so yes, they are one of the Miskatonic 6. And look at that, there's 6 of them. So the easiest way to do that, the easiest way to proceed from there, is a 1d6 for who they're after. So we'll grab a... Actually... Oh, what am I doing? I've got my ticker dice right here from my season replay. So I'm going to look at the book and then we'll introduce who we're looking at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's a 2. So we see Professor Arthur Bancroft, former chair of political science at Miskatonic University. Arthur came from a long line of English politicians and was raised on his family's farm in rural London. With a charismatic personality and seemingly permanent smile on his face, he's the group's ambassador, responsible for dealing with new survivors and extracting information from the group's prisoners. So these ghouls are trying to capture him. Is he in the middle of a fight? So we're looking at... So as we head into these ruins, we see up ahead there's what looks like a group of ghouls surrounding this person. We recognize him as Professor Arthur Bancroft. Question is he fighting? Is he fighting these ghouls? So we'll ask the Oracle about that. That's an 8. Yes, he's fighting them. So we see he's fighting them. We also see he's fairly heavily armed. So let me just see how combat works in this world. Because I'm deciding what I want to do with that information. We see game modes. That's not what I want. Combat. Here we go. 46. Okay. Once the survivor takes an action, reactions are triggered. Okay. You should always try to escape a fight. Alright, so let's look at ghouls and see what we can figure out about them. Do not get sick and don't experience any kind of... Well, we're definitely looking at our numbers here not being in our... The numbers not being in our favor here. So he is fighting them. Next question I want to put to the Oracle is, do the ghouls see us? Do the ghouls see Kira? Yes, they notice. So the ghouls... So as the ghouls are fighting Arthur, one of them becomes aware of Kira's presence as well. So we're not going to get the drop on... So we're not going to get the drop on these ghouls. If we would have gotten the drop on these ghouls, I would have thought about it. Let's see. Ghouls become skilled in ambushes. Okay. Are immortal, don't get sick, and don't experience any kind of deprivation. Unfortunately, all we've got is an axe to fight with. So, I think the question here is, do we try to jump into this fight, or do we jump into this fight, or do we try to, or do we just escape? So if they know we're there, I'm going to roll, and the numbers are not in our favor at all. Let's see, I think what I want to do here, excuse me, so that's a question here, is do we want to try to fight all of these ghouls? That seems like a really terrible idea, especially knowing that these ghouls are immortal and there's a group of them. Actually, we know he's fighting them. Is he holding his... Next question I want to put to the Oracle is he holding his own, or does he seem out, or does he... So is he holding his own? That's a 2. So he's... It looks like... So we look out into the fight and we see that we can see that he's struggling with this fight. Like he's about to succumb. He needs our help to try to escape. So he's struggling with these ghouls. And we know that their goal is to attract a great old one, which is probably not going to do anything good in this world for obvious reasons. So... And they know Kira is around, which is definitely a major problem as well. Because with this group, and we're not going to get the drop on them. Still, it might not be a terrible thing to make friends with the... Might not be terrible to ingratiate ourselves with the Miskatonic 6. But still, that seems like a very dangerous... It seems like a very dangerous situation that we'd be in right now. Question is, do we have any kind of way... We might be able to potentially turn some of these ghouls against them to at least escape. Maybe that's what we'll Maybe that's what we'll try here. We'll try to at least give him a little bit of help, and then we will try to escape. So I think that's what we're going to do here. So we notice he's struggling. We'll come in and try to get the jump. So try to help Arthur with these. And it looks like we always act first. So I'm going to charge in. So Kira's going to charge in with her axe, having drawn it out of her car. She's going to go after one of these ghouls. So she's going to... she's going to attack one of these ghouls. So we've got... Actually, I'm going to grab a D12. We've got 11 ghouls that we're dealing with. And the axe does how much damage? Not a lot of damage, I don't think. See, there's probably something in one of the item tables that explains it. Okay, damage, right. Body stat plus 3. Okay, that's the damage it does. Okay, so body plus 3, which means it's doing 5 damage. So this is probably a terrible idea, but let's go for a body check on this ghoul. That's an 8 plus 2 is 10, so we do pass it, but just barely. So we'll do 5 damage to the first ghoul. So that's 5 damage to the ghoul. And then Arthur will try his luck with his shotgun. He's got a body stat of 3. So looking at the same ghoul, that's a 1 he's going to fail, which means the ghoul will now get its attack. When the ghoul's attack, does the ghoul have an attack? I just had the great old ones in their hordes. Here we go. Okay, our immortal, after a failed body check, the ghoul deals 5 damage to the opponent. Doesn't say how much health the... We'll go with him actually, body is mind plus... No. HP is 5 plus body, so he's got 8 health. Which means he's got 5 health. So we definitely... So Arthur now knows we're there. We're going to try to roll a body athletics check to try to get both of us out of the fight. So I'm going to roll... Yellow for Kira, orange for Arthur, trying to make a body check to get out of here. So we've got a body of 2, he's got a body of 3. He's going to escape the fight, I'm going to fail, which means each ghoul, after a failed body melee combat check. So we're still in combat, which means we're going to have to fight the... So we're going to attack the same ghoul that we've been dealing with. He's clear of combat now, although he does have a shotgun, so maybe he uses that to help us get away, but we'll try to deal with the ghoul that we've been working on first. That's a 3, so we fail, which means Kira will take 5 damage. That'll bring her down to 2 HP. And then Arthur will use his shotgun on his ranged combat check. So he's got a plus 2 on his ranged combat check on his body check. So he's got a 5 on the ghoul that Kira's after. That's a 10, so he'll definitely pass that. He'll obliterate the first ghoul, but it's only going to be dazed. Which means Kira will try again to roll her body check to try to get out of here. Get out of combat, that's a 10. This time she'll escape. Defeats 1 ghoul, escapes with Arthur's help. And then the 2 of them are going to travel, and the 2 of them are going to head 4:30. So this is 4 o'clock. escape to shelter. That'll take us to 4:30 p.m. So now we're back in the shelter, and that's probably where we're going to stay at this point. So shelter was at 2-1. All right, first up we will, let's see, what do we want to do here? I think we're going to use we can probably use the first aid kit to actually do a little bit of healing. We'll see about that. At least I thought I had a first aid kit in here somewhere. Yeah. Okay, so we do have a first aid kit, which I think we'll use here. We'll heal her back to full from that. So we'll heal her back to full using that. Then we'll roll for a Ruins event. Then we're going to tell a little bit more story here. So Ruins event. That's a 1 and a 0. Come across an enemy attacking another survivor. So we'll roll for a violent encounter. Heal to full is our action. Another survivor under attack. We'll roll for a violent encounter. Excuse me. Let's see, that's a 6. And 8 is an ancestral ghost. Oh dear. Do we have any kind of magic attack? Telekinesis probably doesn't count for what we need here. Can I use Sorcery of the Great Old Ones? Can move objects with the power of your mind. Let's see, what to do. So we need to get this survivor out of combat. What does Arthur have for any kind of maybe manipulation could be something we could try here. Manipulation seems like it would be a mind bonus. See if we can maybe manipulate the ancestral ghost away. Or maybe the ghost is a relative of this survivor or something. Are immortal, don't get sick, yada yada yada. Plague a location. Stance is 10. His stance is His stance is probably going to make it hard to do any kind of manipulation check. Okay. Presence is 5. So presence 5 against, well, we probably need some kind of magical manipulation spell is the only problem we need. Still, could be worth although I think manipulation is probably more about your ability to persuade somebody rather than necessarily driving an enemy away. Let's see, page 24. Character can influence people's emotions. Okay, so yeah, that's not what I had in mind. I was hoping for something more like, well, arcane manipulation. Manipulation. Maybe. If I'm thinking this is an ancestor, perhaps that's maybe lashing out. Actually, let's put that to the oracle. So is this survivor under attack by an ancestor come back as a ghost? That's a 5, no. So this ghost doesn't have any kind of connection from the looks of it. It looks like, as far as we can tell, this is a ghost that's randomly lashing out for whatever reason. So what do I want to do with that information? With the haunting aura powered by their hatred for the living. So somehow we need to try to drive this ghost off. The question is how? We don't have any kind of magical attack that's going to do that, and if we miss this attack, well, maybe we'll try to pull this person away anyways. So we'll have them roll so we'll have both Kira and Arthur roll body athletics checks to try to get this person out of combat. Arthur will once again escape. Kira will not. So Kira's going to have to try to start fighting this ghost. She's going to swing the... Yikes. One failed melee combat check and Kira's dead against this ancestral ghost. Yikes. Yowza. Okay. Let's see, Arcana. Maybe we'll try... So we definitely want to try to drive this ghost away. The only question is, how do we do that? We can use the potent sorcery. Okay, let's try an arcane manipulation, I guess, because why not? We do have Arcana and manipulation, so we'll try driving the ghost away with both of those. So we'll use Mind Arcana. So 6 plus, and 8 is a 14, so we do succeed, and we manage to drive the ghost away. So we do manage to drive the ghost off of the manipulation check. Okay, so this is probably where we're going to end it. But Arthur does... So we've got 2 new survivors that we need to roll off. Or we need to roll up. Plus Arthur. So the new survivor thanks us for... Well, thank us for the attack. He'll say, thank you for driving that ghost away. I thought I was a goner there. Arthur will now step up and introduce himself properly and say that he's thankful... that the Miskatonic Six are grateful for our help, and if we can get over to them, they'll offer us our aid against whatever we've got going on here. Kira is, of course, grateful, as are our 2 new survivors that we've managed to... Well, actually, I think we just had the 1 new survivor. No, we just had the 1 new survivor. So we do have Arthur. Kira, being at our house, will invite both of them in for a hot meal and an evening of rest and slumber, essentially, to recover a bit on the day. So we'll pick this up that'll be day 2, which we'll come back to this at some point. So day 2 at 6 a.m. That'll do it for this playthrough of the Legacy of Cthulhu. I do enjoy this game. Well, I did enjoy this session, but the map was a little bit confusing for the book was a little bit confusing for my tastes. And I know I was kind of rambly a bit on where I wanted the story to go. And it turns out I didn't actually need the Mythos keyword table. I'll probably use that more in next week's video, but yeah, I also need to wrap this stream up because I need to set up tomorrow's hockey game, as we'll be continuing my 2009-10 hockey season replay. So I enjoy the storytelling aspect of this game, even if the book is a little bit convoluted in terms of what I want to do with it. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up. Tomorrow night we will be at Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles, California, continuing the 2009-10 hockey season replay in Inside the Crease Hockey, as the New York Rangers will be playing the Los Angeles Kings. Saturday, I'm expecting this to be an afternoon upload. Mystical Munchies will continue out of the recipes from the World of H.P. Lovecraft cookbook as we make the entree, Sonia's Magical Spaghetti. Sunday morning, we will be continuing the Summer of Lovecraft for 2025 as we play the second leg of the campaign, Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. And Wednesday next week, it's already H.P. Lovecraft's birthday, and it's hard to believe that's coming up, but we will be playing Call of Cthulhu by Chaosium. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.